but she's also a very successful person in the working world, and we're really lucky to have her as a speaker for our online workshop. So without wasting any time, I'll pass the stage to Teacher Linnet. Woo!
And a big thank you to you, Faye, for the wonderful introduction. And I would like to thank Team Buddy for giving me the opportunity and honor to facilitate. Let me just start my slide out and I share with you all. Just a moment. First and foremost, to me, to be able to do this is more than just sharing, but to me it's also a way for me to learn more things because I actually learn from all of you. So let me just call up my screen here. Okay, and I call up my full screen. Okay. Can you all see my screen? Yes, thank you. So today we're going to talk about, actually the title is Success and Humility, but I decided to swap the title a little bit and put humility and success first. And that's the reason for it. Because for us to be able to be successful and continue to be successful in a sustainable way, in many ways, humility is very important. But before I go into success itself, let's talk about life first, human life cycle. You can see from this picture, we all start as a child and we grow up and then we go to work until the time then we retire. There's one missing stage, and that is death. And a lot of Western pictures, they don't like to depict death. But for us in Buddhism, to us, death is one phase in life. There'll be another phase in life. And I used to joke with some of my friends. I said, yeah lah, you're all monothesis. You believe there's only one life, die already. Either you go to heaven and hell. For well, Buddhists, you die already, there's always a rebirth. So the only thing is whether you want to come back and suffer or you want to make a decision and get yourself liberated. Choice is yours, I said. Then they all look at me, they really don't like when I say that. Say we got a chance to restart our life one. Within whatever we achieve this life, if we want to be better, we have the next life to improve ourselves. We're very lucky. But that doesn't mean that we don't do little this life. And so because we have many more lifetimes, because that's not the ultimate aim. The ultimate aim is to be liberated and be in a better place than where we are now. So today's session is not about liberation. I think I've spoken about that in the past when I was doing Tinkerestry. But today is talking about how are we going to make the best of this life and to be successful. And successful is like being rich is not a bad word. It's a good word. It's just how you treat it and how you carry yourself. That's the most important thing. So let's look at after you all have gone out, studied, and started working. So these are some of the cycle that we go through. Some people will look for a job, and then there'll be ups and downs. You get interview, you don't get interview. Like now, if some of you are coming out, sometimes looking for a job may be a bit tricky because of the pandemic. But doesn't matter because I always believe that when you go through difficulty in the initial stages and you don't give up, it makes you stronger. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard that does not kill you or make you stronger, and it is so true. And it's our what we think and how we view things, that's the most important thing. And a lot of what happens in my life and where I am, a lot of Dharma goes into it. But I'll talk about that as we go along. So let's talk about working. Then you start working. You may be happy, but sometimes bosses will come and go. And there's one thing I always say when you are working, never let the boss decide whether you're going to stay in a company, but rather, what is it that you want to be doing? What do you want to be successful in that position? And how are you going to overcome it? You see, I'm sure you have remembered the story where a group of people were walking and suddenly they saw a huge rock in front of them and they had two choices. They could either try to push the rock, blast the rock, or get around it. So in life, whatever obstacles you see that is big rock. It's how you want to get around it. Because to me, is you know what you can do and what you cannot do. And if the rock is too big for you, the rock in inverted commas, then you learn to get around it. And I always believe that bosses will come and go, but the job that you're doing will always be there. My question here is, how long you want to stay? Have you got any more things to learn? If you have, dig in and learn, okay? So along the way, as you learn and you work, there might come a point in time where you're happy with the promotion and you want to stay on and be successful as an employee. But there are people who says, okay, I have enough of employment. I want to go out. I want to do my own business. No right, no wrong. It's a matter of personal choices and what works best for you. Okay, so this is where human life cycle is, and this is focusing on your career as an employee. So why am I sharing this with you is some of you are already working, you will be very familiar with this. And for those of you, if it is the first time you're going to go out and work, be prepared for what is ahead of you. And remember, you're never alone. At the end of the day, you can always ask for help. And I believe that the BUBS and the buddy group is always here to help us. Okay, what's next? So I'd like to ask each and every one of you, and what is success to you? And for that, I will be asking Robin to help me to share the poll. You need to choose one or the other. There are 5 options. So Robin, over to you to start the poll. Thank you. So everyone, you can just click and start polling, yeah? So there are 16 of us who are polling. So there are 16 of us in the room. And so far 10 people has responded. Very good. Wow, look at that. Okay. Right, we've got 16 and 16. Very good. Thank you. Now we're going to share results. Top of the list to have a balanced life. Very good choice, because there's a survey done by Thomas Garman to say that when you are successful, if you have a balanced life and you're happy in your life, you will be successful. Achieving life goals, yes, that's also important, because in life there are some goals that we want. And then wealth and position. I notice only a small number of people, but doesn't matter. And of course, academic accomplishment. No one voted for good health. I would think that with this pandemic, good health is also very important, because without health, we cannot have a balanced life. And without a balanced life, we cannot achieve goals. And if we cannot achieve goals, then wealth and position will be harder to reach. So academic accomplishments, yes, especially for those who are teaching in the teaching profession, is also important for them. And for those of us, and I think when Brother Charlie Chia comes on board, I need to wish him Happy Teacher's Day, because today is Malaysian Teacher's Day. Okay, so thank you so much. I think we can stop sharing, and I thank you all for all your input. I hope you enjoy this session. So different people, what we're trying to say from this poll is different people will have different versions of success. And it is important that you know what you want in life. Then only you can do the best to achieve it. Okay. So moving on, what is next? Let's now explore and how it works with success. Okay. So let me just move on to the next one. Look at 5 senses. I'm sure you all are very familiar with these 5 senses. This is something that was, it is what you will see in the Wheel of Life. And if you all remember, we have 12 dependent links. And out of the 12 dependent links, there are 12 causal or independent links: ignorance, volitional action, consciousness, name and form, six sense organs. This is where this comes in. And then contact, sensation, desire, craving, grasping, becoming, birth, and decay. So why am I bringing this in? Because whatever that we want to do in life, in this life, and because we are in form and in mind, the five senses are the ones that are going to see us through this life. Okay, and remember that the five senses are the ones that are going to give us a sensation, the desire, the craving, and when desire and craving comes, so does grasping. All right. So our question here is, how do we use all our five senses for us to move on in life and to be able to succeed? All right. So bear in mind whatever that we see. But one thing I want to highlight to you all, with AI, artificial intelligence and technology today, you will realize that things have changed so much. In the past, when you see and you hear something and you say, that is genuine. But today, with things like deepfake, artificial intelligence, you need to think twice again. Scams are getting very, very sophisticated. They can, and I'm sure you've seen some of the musical video clips where they show one singer and another. One has already passed away and one that's still a famous one today. And yet they're able to put it in such a way that they're singing side by side as though they're on the same stage. So you need to then be able to use your mind, and you need to be able to use your tactile sensation to be able to determine what you see and what you hear is genuine or not. And you need to use your mind a lot more than in old days when things were much simpler. What you hear on radio, what you see on print is what you get. Okay? So with that, I'm going to move on to the next thing. So how do you move on to success? Here are some quotes that I want you all to ponder upon. Success is born of arrogance, but greatness comes with humility. And this is not, this person who talks about it is somebody who may not necessarily be a Buddhist. What's next? As we climb up the ladder of success, you must remember the higher you climb, the harder you fall, if you should fall. So why are we talking about this? Is because if we can build a strong foundation for ourselves in our move to success, then we are able to weather any storm that comes along or any fall that comes along. And humility plays a big role in this. Look at that. Humility in this one, this another one, and this is by William. He says, 6 essential qualities that are key to success is sincerity, personal integrity, humility, courtesy, wisdom, and charity. I want to touch a little bit about integrity as well. Humility is very important, but you must also have integrity. And one of the things that I've come across in my lifetime and when I work is that there will always be temptations. There will always be temptations to ask you to do things that you shouldn't be doing. And one example was when I was working as a secretary, I used to source products for my boss. So because that time I was working in Thomas Cook Travelers Checks, and when people buy Travelers Checks, they were given free gifts. So I will be the one to source all these free gifts for my boss to decide. So what happened was one of the supplier came and told me, says, hey, Linnet, you know, if you can manage to get your boss to approve my premiums, what I will do is I'll give you a big ampao and I'll take you for a nice trip. And the amount of money that he offered me was more than I earned. Now, at that time, it was very tempting. Easy, ma, just get my boss to say yes. But what happened was, because I went to Dhamma school when I was young, and the Dhamma was very strong in me. One part of me said, wow, so easy to get easy money. But the other asked, is it right? Should you do it? So the next thing I did was I told the guy, I said, give me a day to think about it. Because you see, he says, if you don't tell anybody, nobody will know. That's not true, eh? Let me tell you this, because whatever that you do, somehow things will come out and people will know. But anyway, I went home, I thought about it. The next day I came back and I told him, I said, look, I have a better idea. I said, rather than you give me big ang bao and take me for good food, why don't you do something? When I table to my boss all the suppliers, and if you give a good price to my boss, whatever money that you have paid me, instead of giving it to me, you put it as a savings to my boss, you lower your price, number one. Number two, from the money that you have paid me, instead of giving this the money, not only do you lower price for my boss, you make sure the quality of your premium is better than all the rest. Okay, if you can do these things for me, I'm happy to recommend you. You don't have to pay me a single cent. So he said, okay, deal. So I said, all right, show me your sample. So we had the 3 quotations. So all the other 3 quotations, his was one of the best, his sample. So, and the quality is good and the price was good. So I told my boss, I said, I did the tabulation. I said, his looks the best in terms of quality and price. So he got the job. So until today, if you ask me, I have no regrets. Would I do it again? The answer is a resounding yes. So it's very important. Integrity is very important. And because of that, that's why I've never regretted. And this thing is the integrity part will test you many times over. Okay, so this is just one. The other thing is when you're in your climb to the top, you must remember to be humble. Because when you are in a position of power, those who look down on you, those who look down on you while you were up, may be the one you look down. And I have a story to share. Another story is, this is a PA to the big boss. He's the managing director of a company. And because she's in a position of power, everybody have to go through her to go and see the boss. And sometimes she'll be telling me that, you see, they need to kowtow to me to be able to see the boss. This person give me that person give me that. You know, people were nice to her. And she was not so nice to them. Why were she not so nice to them? Because she had power, and it kind of like went on to her brain, to her head. And she forgot that one day she will not be in that position. So that was exactly what happened. So this went on, and finally one fine day she had to retire because she reached retirement age. And when she retired, she decided to do something, a retirement job. She went and became a unit trust agent. So she was thinking that, you know, people were so nice to her when she was in a position of power. She'll go back to those people thinking that they will all support her. But one by one, when she turned them, she go and see them, either they say no or they don't even bother to return her call. And then I remember, because she came back and she said, you know, these people, they're so ungrateful. When they wanted to see the boss, I helped them so much. And now when I ask them to invest with me, they say no. So I kept quiet. I didn't say anything because I remember what we were taught in. Is it timely? Is it beneficial? It may be factual, but is it beneficial? Does it hurt to say? And is it useful for me to tell her? So I decided 1 out of 5 is not good. I kept as if I didn't say anything. But the lesson that I learned from this situation is that because of the arrogance that she had when she was up there, when she stepped down as a PA, the thing is, she did not even realize why people are not talking to her, why they're not. So the only people who actually invested were all her best friends who are on the same level with her, and she has been very nice to them. So there you go. Humility is very important at every position in your life, and more so when you're right at the top. Okay, so with that, let's move on, and I want to share with you something that I've taught before, for those who remember. Why I want to share this, let's have a look at this. Now, in Malunkyaputta Sutra, Buddha asks, can anyone remember my teaching of the 5 lower fetters? So this was not a discourse that someone asked Buddha to teach, but it was something that Buddha posed questions to his disciples. And what happened was Malunkyaputta says that he remembered, and he remembered personal view, doubt, adherence to rules, sensual desire, and ill will. Okay, now this is a bit of refresher for some of you who have attended some of the class. So he says, to whom do you remember my having taught these lower factors? You know, and he asked, sorry, let me just move up. Okay. Would not wanderers of other sects confuse you with similar to an infant? Because one of the things they say is that when someone and a person is born, they already have that. What happens to them is dependent on the conditioning. So remember, even though a child, you and I, when we were born, and we had no notion, we had no conditioning, all these factors were already in us. Okay, these are what they call underlying or latent tendencies. So why is it that some people are better than the rest? Well, it's dependent on, number one, the conditioning that we have. Number two, what conditioning we wish to receive and where we want to go in life. Okay, so with that, that's when the Buddha taught them about the 5 lower fetters. And just to give you all a bit more recollection of what are the 5 fetters, here we go. So fetters are constraints that prevent us from being free. And if you look at this table, the 5 fetters are the ones that we want to focus on in our life. There are 10 altogether, but the other 10 are those that you want to further develop when you want to move on to the different stages in your life. So for us, it's not to say that we want to be a non-returner. Of course, we want to, but for now, for us to be able to move towards success in this life, I think we need to focus on the 5 lower factors. And how do we make sure that we're able to manage them so that they don't show up, and then we are able to move on. All right. So arrogance, which is the opposite of humility, is something is also part and parcel of the factors that you see here. The results of these factors could be an arrogance, and because of that, this will affect the way we live our life. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so I just want to briefly explain about identity view first. Okay, identity view is about our ego and how we see ourselves. There are people, and in my current job that I see, there are people who think that because they are CEOs, general managers, they're entitled to privileges, and they demand that of their staff. Okay, so this is where ego comes in. The second factor, which is doubt, it means skepticism in the path that you need to go. And what it is to tell you is that just because something don't go the way you expected doesn't mean that it is wrong. Sometimes things do not happen because it's not right. It's not right for this thing to happen first. And because of that, we need to have patience. So, and we need to have belief. We need to trust in the belief for us to be able to move on. Now, the third factor that we talk about is ritual. Now, we are used to doing things in a certain ways. And one of the things in the business world that we're used in is to have meetings, to have lunch meetings, and we sign all our papers and we pass on to the next department. But with the pandemic, one of the things that we needed to learn was how to automate everything. We have exams online, we have workshops online, like what we're having now, this workshop online. Yeah, we learn to adapt. So we have to learn to do away with things that we used to do. Those days, I still remember when we run events, wow, must have a special room for the guest speakers. And then after that, there must be food for them and all that. But as time goes by, we say, why do we want to waste money on this type of things? Half the time, the speakers don't want to stay in a room and talk to each other. What they want to do is they want to go out. I'm talking about on-ground events. They want to go out and they want to talk to people, the people in the conference. So slowly, these rituals have moved away. And now that everything's online, it's even better still. In fact, we find that we're able to get better speakers. We can get speakers from overseas because we don't have to fly them over. We save a lot of cost, and learning has become much more economical. That's very good. Now, the fourth factor is craving. Okay, craving is for feelings that make us feel good, such as love, recognition, praise from others. Okay, so one has to be very mindful that when people praise you, that's good, but do not let it go up to your head and say, yeah, I'm really good. You know, it doesn't work that way. You got to always tell yourself that, why did you do this? What is your main purpose and your objective for being good at what you do? All right. I like what I'm doing, and I took this job. It's not because I wanted to be a CEO. Never in my life I ever thought that I'm going to be a CEO. But the reason why I took this job was because I felt that financial literacy, the company I'm working for is actually an association. It's a financial planning association of Malaysia. It's a non-profit organization. And why did I want to do that was because there are two things that I wanted to achieve. One is I wanted to have more people to be able to help other people manage their finances by becoming financial planners. The second thing that I wanted was through this platform, which is the association, is for us to be able to help more people to be more financial literate so that they can manage their finances better and be able to live this worldly life in a better way, have a better life. So that's why I took this job, not because of the position, but because what this platform can help me to achieve to help others. Okay, so bearing in mind these factors, they are default in everyone. More importantly is what we do with ourselves. And to be able to illustrate that, I want to share with you all a story of two boys. There were two boys, and they are born in they're brothers. They are born to a same father. The father is very abusive. He's not very nice at all. The mother has always tried to look after them and protect them from the father. So what happened to the two boys when they grow up? Now, remember, they have the same set of parents, but because each of us are born with a different characteristic in us, okay? So although the conditioning is the same because the father is abusive and he's not taught them well, there were one of the boys had this thought that my father is good for nothing. And that's why I am where I am now. Everything that goes wrong in my life, I blame it on my father. That was a simple way to look at it. But the other boy was saying, I look at my father, he's abusive, he smokes, he shouts at mom. I do not like that. And this is not the life I want for myself. So I'm going to make this change. I'm going to change the way my story goes. So at the end of the day, if you look at these two boys, their lives are so different. One is happy. One strive to make things better for his life by avoiding what the father taught to them or did to them. Whereas the other one, he went the same way as the father. Couldn't hold a good job, could never have a stable relationship, and always blaming it on the father. So choice is yours. You are the decision maker of where you want to go in your life and how you're going to turn out. Okay? So let me ask you this, and this is poll question number 2. Which of these factors you want to overcome in your life? So let's share. Let's share. I need to ask Brother Robin to please. Thank you so much. So go ahead, vote. Wow.
Can only choose one.
Sorry?
Can only choose one.
I only choose one, only choose one, only. This is a fun poll, okay? If you want more, it's okay. I can understand. You choose the one that you want to overcome the most, okay? All right. You will, yes. Wow, Doubt is still leading, huh? Doubt is still leading. So we have 20 people in the room now, and so far 18 of you have voted. Very good. All right. I like the fact that you're not attached to rituals. Very good. All right. 20 of 20. Thank you. So the results the winner goes to Dao. And very good. It means that everyone has to have a belief that things work. Belief is very important. Second thing is ill will became second, a very poor second. And I want to also say something about ill will here. I am also sometimes guilty of it, even today. When does that happen? I'm going to share a situation. Sometimes people make you so angry, and you are so angry that you're like, what is this fella doing? I'm so kind to him or her, and yet he's like that. You know, I wish this fella would disappear from this world. It's also a part of an ill will. And remember, the factors are always in us, and things can trigger it off. And this is where arahants and strong winners are good at it, because you know why? Before their thought can even come, they can sense it and they can very quickly bring it down. So to us here, if you ever had this thought, please don't bash yourself up for it. Just tell yourself, oops, my fetus is showing, grab hold of it, put it down and say, hi, keep it, ground it, look some and anchor it into the ground, make sure that it doesn't come up. And I assure you, the more you do this, the more you will find that you're better at overcoming your fetters. Rome was never built in one day, but you just need to start somewhere and make the effort. Okay, so I want to pause here for a moment. I'm going to close this poll. All right, I'm going to close this poll. And I think I'd like to stop here and ask, is there any questions that anyone would like to ask? You can either share it in the chat, or you can, Robin, are they allowed to unmute and ask the questions?
Yes, they are allowed to unmute and ask the questions.
All right, so go ahead. If you have a question you want to ask, please feel free. Anybody? I know we have a Q&A at the end, but it's just that sometimes there are some questions that you feel you want to ask now, and you may forget by the time you get to the end. If there's none, then
okay, I can ask a question, quick one. It's a follow-up on the story of the two boys. I'm very intrigued by that story, Teacher Linnet. So you mentioned about how they have different inclinations, right? They're born with different inclinations, and therefore one end up, like rejecting, or not rejecting, but not wanting to be the same, right, as that kind of upbringing. The other ended up following that kind of upbringing, right? So you mentioned, right, so they are born with different inclinations. So that's one layer of explanation. Maybe if Teacher Linnet, you could just talk a little bit more about what makes that trajectory different. even for ourselves, like we have a lot of us have the same environment. Like we might go to the same school, or even we might go to the same Dhamma class, but then some of us turned out this way and some of us turned out that way. Maybe could you talk a little bit more about how that trajectory might change now for all of us? Yeah.
All right. I think the first thing is the belief factor. Sometimes you need to believe that you can make the change. And then the second thing is the recognition of the factors that is within us, and to decide whether we want to let it control our life or we want to take control of our life. I think that's very important. It's very easy to blame. When I started life, to a certain extent, I say, my father talked to me like that, and that's where. But along the way, and I did take, I studied as I go along. And in my studies, I discovered that you have the power to make a change. And it helped me to entrench that belief. Alongside with professional education or learning that I learned, I still go back to the Dharma. And that's why, if you look at me, I listen to Dhamma talks. Even today, one of the biggest blessings that I have is that with this pandemic, I have access to more Dhamma talks than I've ever had from any of the teachers that we want to learn from. Those days you have to make time and go to the Buddhist center or the temple. Now, Dhamma on demand, my God, I tell you, I got 5 minutes, 10 minutes in between. I can listen to anyone. I got 1 hour, I can listen to anyone. When I'm folding clothes, I know we're not supposed to multitask, but because folding clothes is something that's automatic. And do you realize that anything that you program yourself would change the trajectory, and it doesn't have to be very much. And I want to give you the symbol of a sun. Now, the sun will shine at a certain degree. Now, if you just change 0.0 something degree, you could see that it will shine further, right? Same. All you need to do is tell yourself you start small. And when you start small, you can imagine how far you would go. So go step by step and must have that belief. And you must have the humility to know that you don't know everything and that you have to learn. Even today, I know I will learn until the day I die. Okay? And I learn from everybody, even the questions that you are asked will also, I learn things from you all as well. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your reaction. So now I'm going to move on to the next section. If you all have a question, just unmute and say question and I will pause, okay? I want this to be interactive. Now, some of you may remember this also. It's a Loka Vipatti Sutra, and I've also shared this before in King Quest 3. There are 8 worldly conditions, or a very simple way is 2 sides to a coin. Okay, there's loss and gain. All right, it's not about money, but it also can be reputation. All right, that can be lost. It could be trust and belief in a person. I like to give an example. You remember our one of the past Prime Minister Mahathir. During that time when he was with UMNO, people had a different opinion of him. Then when he joined Pakatan Harapan, they said, hey, he has changed already. You know, things could be better. But now they take a U-turn and they have a different opinion of him again. You know what I mean? So reputation will go up and go down, go up and go down. This is the simplest example I can show you. And what causes it to go up and down is what you do with your life. And it's what you do when people look at you. Okay? But I think what people think of you is one thing, but more importantly is how people perceive you would very much come with how you perceive yourself and how you want yourself to be. Okay? Next is status and disgrace. I don't know whether you watch movie. I know that when I tell you about this movie, you probably say, teacher old already. And I would admit to it. But if you remember Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner acted as Electra. They were married and they were doing very well. But what happened was Ben Affleck was also a renowned actor. But because he cheated on his wife, who is Jennifer Garner, what happened was they split up. And when they split up, things didn't go well for Ben Affleck. And he fell into alcoholism. So he did go back for treatment. and he got well, but then he had a relapse again. Okay, and today his life, he's not people do not see him as a successful actor, but they see him as someone who has failed in his life. So as you can see, these things are very transient, and it can happen to any one of us if we are not mindful of how we live our lives. Okay, Mike Tyson is another one. He made so much money, boxing, brute strength, fight, and win. Make so much money, but when he no longer fight anymore, he forgot that you don't earn big money anymore, and he continued to spend his money. And at the end of the day, he became poor. He became bankrupt. So you could be here today and gone tomorrow. It became a disgrace. Okay, so these are things that you need to look at. Now, censure and praise, they are all interlinked. Censure and praise will be, on the one hand, people say, you're very bad, useless, but somebody will praise you. Another good example would be, this person by the name of Elizabeth Holmes. Elizabeth Holmes, once upon a time, raised this company called Theranos. It's a biotech company. Everybody thought she was so good. Everyone wanted to invest in her company. Praised her, said that she's so advanced, everything. Then one fine day, when you're not truthful to yourself, someone found out that she is not who she is. A lot of the technology that she claimed is actually fake. And that was when the public run her down, censure. Okay, so transient, very transient, but good example of people who actually are successful and stay up there. Warren Buffett, Carlos Slim. These are people who are successful and they stay at the top, and they're very humble. Do you know that Warren Buffett stays in the same house that he stayed 40 years ago? All right, he still drives an old car. He never drive a posh fancy car. He didn't feel the need to. He didn't feel need to. And a lot back home, I knew a doctor. At that time, I was a pharmaceutical rep. He is a very successful physician. And he lived in a nice big house in Bangsar. But you know what he drives to work? He drives a very old Proton Saga. He drives to work because he don't want to attract any attention, but he's the nicest person, very nice person. And I always remember him. God bless his soul and may his karma be better, because even though he's a very successful physician and very well known, he is so humble, so much so that he even tell me, Linnet, when I teach the other doctors, you can come and listen to my teaching. I'm not a doctor. I was only a medical rep. So in return for his kindness, I told him, I said, Dr. Koo, let me have the honor of driving you to go ahead for your classes. So I will fetch him from his clinic and then I'll fetch him to his place where he's going to give a talk, and then I'll fetch him back. And then when he didn't have time, I told him, I said, don't worry, Dr. Koo, I buy lunch. So I tapao lunch and he will eat in my car. I tell you, it was an honor to serve him. Okay. And I learned a lot of things from him as well. All right. What's next? The last but not least is pain and pleasure. Okay. For example, falling in love is very, very a nice feeling. It's pleasurable. But when you fall out of love, what happens? The heart feels as though it's going to break. And you say, why? Why? But it's part of life. You must have one without, you cannot have one without the other. Or for those who love to eat, that piece of cake with all the lovely cream at the top, when you eat it, especially for someone who likes chocolate like me, when I eat a piece of cake which is rich in chocolate, you say, wow, this is as though I'm in heaven. Wonderful. And then you eat and you don't know how to stop. It's called overindulging. And guess what happened? 1 week later, when you step on the scale and you look at it and say, oh my God, I'm getting fat. And at my age, when your metabolic rate slows down, whatever you pass through your lips go very fast, the tummy and the hips, okay? So One have to be, you must have moderation in everything. So not humility, but integrity only, but humility and moderation in everything. Okay, what's next? So one thing that you need to be aware in these 8 worldly conditions among human beings, you must remember 3 important things. They're never constant, they're subject to change, and it's never permanent. All right. Buddha says, but nothing is permanent, right? 3 things are permanent in this life. That's dying, having to pay tax, and growing old. That one is definitely one. Okay. So make the best of your life when you have time, and so that you will not regret when you grow older. And this is what I always tell. One of the things that I did when I was young that time, I studied a lot. When my friends are going shopping during lunchtime, I actually stay in the office and I study. And I learned. Last time was it was D-based, Lotus 1, 2, 3, whatever lah. And I took up and I picked this up on my own. Why? Because to me, I said I wanted to move on in life. I need to do things that are productive, and that's where that's what I did with my life. So, talking about factors, remember something. Someone who is uninstructed, what do? They welcome the positive condition and rebels against the negative. Okay, they engage in welcoming and rebelling. They are bound by birth, age, death, and sorrow, pain. Some people, I call them a pity party one. They love pity party one. They're unhappy only, then they're happy one. There are people like that. But there are some people, they are so focused on all this negative aspect of life that it has, they cannot climb out of it. All right. Or there are those who are right up there at the top and then forget that one day they will fall also. So because of that, that's why the uninstructed person will always be bound by the chain and stuck to the 8 conditions. All right. So let's not focus on this person. Let's focus on the one who's wise. And these are things that I want you to ponder more on. The wise person is always mindful about changing condition. Things don't. Good things that happen. They are not overjoyed and say yes, yes, yes. This is it. But they are like, okay, this is good that it happened, but this thing is not forever, okay? And then when bad things happen, and I want to tell you a bad thing that just happened. Yesterday, one of my staff told me that she's COVID positive. So the next thing is myself, because I saw her twice. So I'm the second in line, if anything else. So what am I going to do? Am I going to cry? Am I panic? I'm going to blame her? No. So what I did was, the first thing I said is, okay, what are we going to do as an association? How are we going to overcome this? What are the things? And the other thing I told my team members is, no one is to be blamed. We don't know where it came from. Although she's tested positive, she could have jolly well gotten from any one of us in the office or when she's traveling to work. So it's not anyone's fault. I said, what is important for us to do is, now we need to close ranks, we need to support each other, and we need to reassure each other, and we must make each other safe. And one of the things that I did was, I said, okay, all of you go and do your COVID test again. I think some of us are twice and some of them are 3. And like for me, it's my 3rd time already. So that's what we did, all right? We accept that things will happen. What are we going to do to be able to overcome it? The positive mindset is very important, okay? Wise person will welcome and rebel. His welcoming and rebelling are scattered and do not exist. So he doesn't cling on to negative things. And when you're able to do that, you are free from suffering, not only in your next life, but in this life itself. If you learn to know how to ride the ups and downs of life, and you know how to learn to pick yourself up when you are down, you'll be surprised. Life will be much, much better. And this is and as you do this, you must remember that you are also moving towards liberation in a way. Okay? So what is next? Mindful of time is going to be 9 o'clock already. There are 9 important steps that to success and greatness. Okay? So you must know yourself very well. I used to do, okay, you do your SWOT analysis. Those who have never done, maybe next day I'll do SWOT analysis for you all. It's about knowing your strength, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and the threats that is in your life. Once you have done that, go and Google SWOT analysis and do for yourself. Okay? Do it for yourself for your life, do for yourself in whatever that you want to do. But these are 9 important things that you must know and must do for you to be able to be successful. Okay? Avoid procrastination, break down your goals, focus on what you want to achieve rather than if there are obstacles, focus on how you're going to overcome it, and remember your goal will always be there. Okay? And goals are not permanent. Once you have achieved that, there will be new goals that you want to achieve as well. Now, what gets measured gets achieved. So you must also measure, be brave enough to measure your steps as you go along. Okay? And track your success, your progress also. And sometimes you cannot do it alone. You need to find a coach. You need to find a mentor. You need to find someone who is a good example. There are a few people who are actually good examples in life, successful people, which I model my life after. Because I once upon a time asked this guy was a contractor, he's a plumbing contractor. I thought that he was quite successful, but he's also a Buddhist. And he told me that he's gone to Thailand to do a novitiate program. I said, very good. So I asked him one simple question. I said, you are a successful plumber. Can you tell me which part of Buddhism was it that and Dhamma that helped you to be successful and where you are? You know what he told me? He says, no, if you want to do business and you want to be successful, you cannot apply the Dhamma. So suddenly from becoming my role model, it dropped already. Said, oh, like that. Then how I remember when before I joined this association, I was working for a commercial company, and sometimes bosses ask me to shortcut things on, and I said no, I don't want to shortcut. So it's about integrity again. So I said, oh, like that. Well, this person, I think I don't want to follow him, not my role model. So I look for other role models. Okay, so role models are very important. Look for someone and follow it. Now, the other thing I always tell people is successful, and I learned this from someone. I didn't imagine or thought might come up with this. They say that someone is a successful people are successful because they do things unsuccessful people don't want or don't do. Okay, so just now remember doubt. Now look at item number 2, believe. You need to believe you can do it. You must believe you can be successful. You have to be clear about what you want. And one of the most important things is you need to be resilient and overcome adversity. Because in every aspect of life, there will always be obstacles, but it's how, and with every obstacle that you overcome, there is always something that you learn. Buddha never became enlightened overnight, right? We all read all his Jataka stories, how many lifetimes he went through. If he has to go through all this, you think we can do it overnight? Think again. All right. More importantly is you must have the courage. Courage is not about, going out to fight war and all those. Courage is to step out of your comfort zone regularly, doing things that you don't normally do. Okay. So this is very important. Next, be mindful. Be very mindful as you go up to the top. Let me see. I see some things in the chat, and I just want to check and see whether there's any messages I need to know. What does Buddhist Dhamma speak slightly about courage or boldness? Okay, that's a very good question. Courage or boldness means that sometimes you are required to do things and that you think you dare not do. Okay, I'll give you an example. Bosses, people always think that working for a boss and the boss is always right. Now, I'm sure nowadays you've seen worldwide, there's now questions about leaders, political leaders, or even business leaders. You remember the Volkswagen at one point in time, they got into trouble. Why? Because what happened is they bluff about the carbon emission of their exhaust so that they can sell their cars, and then they had to recall. See, what happens is it's all about the people who work for them. Why did they do it? Why did they listen? Why did the boss force them to do it? These are questions you can be asked. So the next question you would ask is, has there been situations where I had to stand out, not stand out, step up and disagree with my bosses? The answer is a great yes. Many times, bosses, they have personal interests. And when they have personal interests, sometimes they make their staff do things that they shouldn't do. Okay? Okay, there's a story about DuPont in the movie Dark Waters. Very good. Real life. This one is a real life. This company want to achieve a lot of things. The bosses sits on my board, and then they try to force my staff and I to give in to him, to allow him to do things to get his people to get through the exams, because we are certifying bodies for financial planners, and we said no. Sorry, is it my line? It's my line. I'm so sorry. Let me start sharing again. So anyway, as I was saying, what happened was, so we went through months and months of being scolded by one of the board members, being run down at every meeting. We were scolded until my staff wanted to give up. Then I told them, I said, if it's too hard for you to bear, just don't attend the meeting. I will do. And there was one time even shouted at me, don't know what you're doing. Oh, I tell you, and this is physical. And I was there and I looked at him. Then I looked at all the other board members, and then I looked at my staff. And then you know what I did to him? Excuse me, could you please stop shouting at me? I tell you, I could hear a pin drop in the room. I said, I can understand if you're angry with me. If I've done anything that's wrong, I will acknowledge it and I will make it right. You have every right to be angry, but please don't shout. Let's discuss about it, and whatever that's wrong, let's make it right. I tell you, all the other board members get very quiet. Actually, he's very lucky, because you know why? I just asked him not to shout at me. In another meeting that I was in, the person shouted and slammed the table. You know what I told him? I said, I think you owe me an apology. Because I said, no matter how annoyed you are, you have no right to slam on the table. It's very disrespectful, not only to me, but to the people who are at the meeting. So it's about having the courage to stand up to things like this. Okay. Sometimes it's scary, you know, to stay right and correct and hold on to integrity. There will be time when you'll be required to be brave. All right. The other reason where you are brave is when you are when I was a licensed financial planner, one of the things that my client said, I want to do things in a certain way, but it wasn't good. So I had to tell him, I said, remember this money you're keeping for your children's education. If you give away this money now, you use this money, and the time comes your children can study, where are you going to get the money from? So you need to have that boldness to be able to say what's right and do what's right. Okay? So be kind, be humble, work hard, never cheat. That's what people always say. All right, let me see. Okay, so remember these few things as you move up in life. When we are successful, we are never alone. When people help us to be successful. And when you are truthful to your clients and your customers, they are nicer to you, and it will come back on. All right. So Now, and also never step on other people. When you become a boss one day, never step on your staff to move up. Remember, when your staff all move up, you bring your staff up, you will also move up because they will also support you. All right. The other thing is never commit a crime to be successful. It doesn't pay. We remember some of this. Some time back, there was in the news about a Datuk that got shot and killed, and then everybody said, "Wow, Malaysia is so dangerous to stay." But it's not true. What happened was this guy bought his Datuk ship. He became successful because he was actually a kingpin in the underworld, and because of what he did, and he went and got some crooked royalty to give him his Datuk ship. The fella blindly give, never also know that through whether the person is genuine. And his business, because the business that he do is not a good business, is gang rivalry. He got shot. No, he didn't get. He got killed. Then there was another one. The wife got killed because they thought he was in the car, but it was the wife. So these are things where learn from people's mistakes and don't do it. Okay. Next, things to give up when you're successful. This one is from the Dalai Lama. Okay, the 15th Dalai Lama. Please don't make excuses for yourself. Don't oversleep. Sleep is very important. Health is very important. You must sleep, but don't oversleep. Okay. Your lifestyle, which I'm very happy. Some of you said you want to have a balanced lifestyle. Don't cut corners. Don't play small. Playing small means our actions are motivated by our fears, insecurities. You need to give that up. Don't stereotype. No black magic. Using bad spirits to go and affect other people. Multitasking is here. This is a very interesting one. They say, why multitasking on this list? Well, one of the things my daughter taught me, yes, I learned from my daughter. So she did psychology and she told me, Mom, there's no such thing as multitasking. Multitasking is what you do is you switch your attention to this, then you do this halfway, then you switch attention to that. You think you may be very good at multitasking, but in between something will get missing one. So stay focused on what you want to do and do it well and move on to the next thing. All right. The only thing you can multitask is when it's something routine, like I said, when I'm folding clothes, because when you fold clothes, you're using your hands, but your ears can still listen. Okay. But important things never multitask. Very dangerous. Okay. Next. Ooh, that was very fast. I want to share with you. Let me pause this. I want to pause this and I want to share this story for y'all. I need to share screen. You hold on a moment. Let me share the screen again. All right. Share the screen and I will share the sound as well. Okay. Can you see the screen now? Robin, is my screen showing? Okay, very good. Now let me just play so they can hear. This one is how to remain.
I know that some people don't feel that strongly when their customers decide to invite themselves to dinner, when their customers want an autograph or to give you a new recipe. How, with such demands on you, do you manage to stay so humble? I mean, you may not want to call yourself a success, but I know everyone in this room would call you a success. I know financially one would call you a success, and I know having a personal relationship with you that I'd call you a success. But you still remain incredibly humble. How?
Well, there's nothing like going bankrupt once in your life to give you some humility.
Tell me about that.
Do we have to?
Yes. The naked entrepreneur,
I only want
not
to
the
talk,
semi-naked
I
entrepreneur.
want to talk about my fabulous successes, not my fabulous failures. Yeah, I mean, I wake up every day and realize that people don't have to drink my beer. I would not be anywhere if people didn't take money freely out. It's not like I'm selling penicillin. You don't need what I do. It's purely disposable income. And there are lots of ways for you to spend your money on someone else's beer. You don't have to sell it. You don't have to buy the beer that I sell. So when a customer is happy to see me and wants to interrupt my dinner, that guy's he could be paying for my dinner. And if I get arrogant, I won't have anybody buying my beer. And it doesn't take very long for you to go from being a success to a failure. When I opened the brewery back in 1988, overextended my credit. I was using credit cards and cash advances and anything else I could do, check kiting and everything else that was illegal to try and keep the doors open. Not suggesting you guys do that. And it was tough because I really believed in the project and not a whole lot of other people did. And it was pretty close to having padlocks put on the doors.
Where does that courage come from? I mean, I read
I'm
one
not sure
point.
it's courage, it might be bullheadedness. It's a desire to prove people wrong, you know, when they say you're going to fail.
But you put up your house against
Yeah.
payroll,
Yeah, and I lost it, yeah.
and yet
Yeah.
you still moved on. How do you bounce back from that?
Well, we don't have debtors' prisons, Sean. You wake up the next morning and I said, you know what, if I lose everything, I'll go back to McDonald's and flip burgers and start all over. I mean, it's not an I haven't done anything dishonest. I'm not going to jail. I just dreamt too big and I couldn't pay for it. That's not a sin in this country.
No?
So you wake up the next morning and plus, you know what, I had 50 or 60 employees who had mortgages to pay for. And they had faith in me that I was going to pull a rabbit out of a hat, and I owed it to them. Plus, you don't want to fail in front of your family. What kind of example do you set for your kids, your wife and your kids, if you give up? It's not very good.
Okay, I'm going to end this. Let me just, okay. I'm going to close this. Just a moment now.
3, 2, 1.
My and I'm going to close this and I'm continue. Can you still see my screen or do I need to reshare my screen?
Can see.
Okay, very good. So did you like that story? If you're wondering who that old guy is, actually he is a British chap who runs a very successful brewery making beer, but his factory is in Canada. All right. But I like this story. I picked this up is because it's about humility. It's about believe in himself, and it's about sharing good example to his family. So I think it's very heartwarming to hear people are successful at the top and yet still being able to be humble. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the next. Sure. Okay. So being successful, I've shared this already, is there are challenges because materialistic people will judge you. Sometimes you go to shops and if you wear simply, I think Faye saw me yesterday when I was at a supermarket and I wasn't exactly dressing up to be nice. I looked as though I just stepped out from the house, which I did. But yeah, you know, if I go to a posh shop wearing like that, people will look me up and down and, you know, they won't think too much and they think I won't spend money, okay? There's sometimes you're being taken advantage, people cheat on you, people put you down, people undermine your credibility. But if you remember the story of the snake in Buddha, in one of Buddha's stories, it says there was this snake threatening the village, and what someone came and one of the villagers told Buddha, hey, you know, there's this snake terrorizing us. So Buddha said, okay, I'll go talk to the snake. And then after that, he convinced the snake, hey, you know, don't do this. It's not good. You know, if you want to have a better life, you should be nicer to people. Stop biting and killing people, okay? So this fellow said, okay, I won't do that. But what happened was, when he became not so fierce, cobra, there's a cobra, people start bullying him. So one fine day, Buddha was passing by the way, looked up at him, and then he says, you look at me, you told me don't bite people, don't kill people, and what do they do now? People bully me, all beaten up and all that. So Buddha said, I told you not to terrorize people, to bully people, to eat people and bite them or kill them, but I didn't tell you cannot hiss. So in life, sometimes when you meet people like this, you must know when to just show your claws a little bit so that they don't bully you or your team members. And I just gave you the story about the board member. Then after that, you keep your claws and don't show it anymore. Okay, so this is what about being able to manage things. All right, so a sense of humility is vital. Just now there was an example uh, about having balanced authority. I think I'm not going to go through details of this slide because the video said it all. Do you all agree? It is a very, very good example. So if you have seen this video, all these 8 points is exactly what that person shows by the story that he tells about his journey up to being successful. By the way, if you were to, I will paste later on, if you were to look at this chat, his family started, his ancestors start as pirates in UK. You would never believe it, but look at where he is now. In fact, he doesn't drink. Okay, I know he manufactures beers, but he doesn't drink. That's the unusual aspect of it. All right. So next, within the Buddhist fraternity, we also have very successful people who are very humble in their move up, and I've had the honor and the opportunity to meet one of them, and that is Datuk Charlie Chia. And that's why I invited him to do a little bit of sharing. And as usual, he's so humble, he said yes. So I like to thank him. I just like to also read a little bit. If you don't know his professional background, you all know him as a great Dhamma teacher. He gives great talks. We all love listening to his talks. But he's actually an advocate and solicitor of the Malaysian Bar. He graduated as a Chartered Quantity Surveyor with a Bachelor of Quantity Surveying from UTM. And he's also a Fellow of Royal Institution of Surveyors Malaysia and a member of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors and the Society of Construction Law. Okay, so besides being a quantity surveyor, he holds a Bachelor of Law degree from University of London. He completed his CLP and was awarded by the Legal Profession Qualifying Board of Malaysia. So currently, he's a company director of Land Group and an independent non-executive director of Grand Dynamic Builders Holding Berhad, a public listed construction company. So without further ado, I'd like to invite him to share his story so that we all can learn from him. All right. So Datuk Charlie, over to you.
Hi, everyone. A very good evening, all of you. Great to see each and one of you. Though I've not met most of you before, probably when I drop by to Bandar Utama Buddhist Society and attend some of the Visak celebrations, probably you will just be able to see me. I was actually at one point in time very active in BAPS, but at this moment, I'm now spending quite a lot of time with the group in Nalanda. But I'm still very much a parcel of the educational group, giving introduction to Buddhism to the parents of Bandar Utama Buddhist Society. And also, of course, once a while on the Sundays, I'll drop by to actually give a talk. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Teacher Linnet for inviting me and also introducing me. Thank you so much. And I appreciate what you have said. And also I'm proud to be actually part and parcel of this Buddhist community. And especially I would like to say that, you know, I started on a very good background in the Buddha's teachings, because at the time when I was a very young boy, probably about 13 to 14 years old, I was introduced to the Dhamma through a Sunday school in Malacca. And I actually attended Sunday schools in the Sekiai Dhamma School. And after I was, ready to go to the university, I came up to KL and I joined the University of Technology Malaysia and undergoing the course on quantity surveying. And at the same time, the first society that we were introduced to, again, was in line with what we profess our religion, and I chose the Buddhist society to continue my Dhamma study. So I was actually a assistant secretary for the first year. And then in the second year, I then became one of the social secretary. And then eventually in the third year, I became the secretary. In the fourth year, I became the vice president. And in the fifth year, which was my final year, I then became the president of the Buddhist Society in University of Technology, Malaysia. So you can see each year itself was actually a rise in the ranks, especially in the quest to help out, as well as also to educate a lot of our Buddhist students who, most of them actually, they have never heard about the Buddha's teaching, and what you call, unlike us, where we have the opportunity, and they are actually very happy to be in contact and in touch, especially the English speaking group. You know, it was the first time that they heard the Dhamma. All the while, they do not know what the Buddha's teaching was about, although they label themselves as Buddhist, as a label when they are asked to register what is their religion. And true enough, when I graduated, I then continued to be inside some Buddhist movement. I was actually in the Buddhist Missionary Society youth section. I was also very much involved in the Young Buddhist Association of Malaysia. And at the same time, I also became a very active member in a group called the Dhammansara Buddhist Vihara. And there was many years. And as I graduated, I was actually posted as a quantity surveyor, working in the Jabatan Kerja Raya, which is actually in the government. And I was posted to many stations. So one of the stations was actually Kota Tinggi. So when I go there, and I eventually felt that there was a duty to educate some of our Buddhist community there who probably never had a chance to even read a Buddhist book. So I brought along a lot of Buddhist books on consignment, and I, put myself as if like I'm a Pasar Malam salesman. I had this Mazda 223, which is a hatchback, and eventually I then put all the books, spread it out onto the dashboard, and eventually open up the booth and start selling. And surprisingly, there were a lot of engineers, the teachers, most of them English speaking, who have never even have a inkling of an idea that Buddhism could be taught in English. And most of these books come from Buddhist Vihara, or Buddhist Mahavihara now called. And the Chief Reverend was actually one of the strongest advocates of Dhamma Dutta work. You know? So I then begin to gather a good gathering of people. Then I started to invite speakers that comes in from the various cities and towns who happen to be in Kota Tinggi. And then I started to introduce the Dhamma to them. And surprisingly, many became so interested that they decided to form a Buddhist society. So again, you see a lot of societies were formed by people like us who were graduating in the 1978, 79, 80, 81, 82. And then eventually, that's how the Buddhist movement starts to grow, over the period. And when we came back to KL, when I was posted back to KL, and that was the time when we started to form groups like Buddhist Gem Fellowship, and also Subang Jaya Buddhist Association. They all started in as a cell group in the house. And then subsequently, then they became a Buddhist Society or Buddhist Association, and then they flourished. And there was this time when I actually became very active together with some friends to start the Buddhist Society in Bandar Utama. And that was the origin of the Bandar Utama Buddhist Society, where we were organizing our Sunday school as well as also Buddhist talks in the house in the BU 11. And then subsequently, when we got a piece of land, then we moved on to BU 3 and BU 6. And then that is when Buddy now has the opportunity and the good fortune to enjoy, right, all these facilities and propagation work. So, but a lot of people then ask me, with so much work that you have been doing, what actually have you benefited? And I was actually very lucky to say that, that these are some of the good merits, because sharing the Dhamma, learning the Dhamma, these are actually meritorious actions. And this meritorious action has actually accumulated a lot of good karmas, that I realized that after some time, I actually enjoyed a lot of benefits as a result of it. I remember until I retired from JKR, my promotions and my encounter with a lot of benefactors and a lot of teachers was actually enhanced, probably because of my good karmas. So when you talk about good karma, it's actually very important, as we realize. Because I always like to share this story about, that you have this concept or this doctrine called the cosmic trinity, which talks about 天才, 地才, 人才. So 天才 is actually your karmas which you have bestowed yourself when you were born into this world, and also the karmas that you have accumulated over the years as a result of all the good actions. But these karmic seeds that you have sown will not germinate, will not become a blossom into a tree or fruits until you have the right conditions. And we call this the earth luck, 地才. 地才 means the conditions and the environment and the ambience and the benefactors that is around you. These are the people who then give you the opportunities and the conditions which is conducive for our good karmas to germinate. And then subsequently, if you have good 天才, good 地才, but you 没有人才也是没有用. In other words, if you don't put an effort to try and develop yourself, try to train yourself, try to uplift and upskill, you will never be able to take advantage of the opportunity and then be able to reap the fruits and enjoy the benefits. So I am very lucky to say that throughout so many years and throughout so many jobs that we have been doing, I realized that actually I never attended a single interview. And each time when I'm about to finish off one vocation, there comes another offer, and I go on to work and work and work. And then I rise through the ranks. And I'm fortunate to say that I have a lot of success in my life. Reason is because I was a successful quantity surveyor. And then as a result of my training, as well as also my working life, 18 years in JKR, I was then offered to become a general manager in a construction firm. So I became a GM in a construction firm. And from then onwards, after 2.5 years, I was actually offered a job to work for a developer. And through the ranks of being a developer, from the GM level to the Chief Operation Officer, and eventually end up as the group CEO or also the CEO of very established companies like Malton Berhad, which develops Pavilion, right? And also NASA TTDI, which develops Taman Tun Dr. Ismail, and also TTDI Jaya in Shah Alam. And then subsequently, the firm which I'm still attached to, although I've retired, I'm also still continued as a director, a non-executive director. And lately, of course, I've been appointed as a non-executive independent director of another construction firm, which is a public listed company. And this is called the Grand Dynamics Builders, which is building a lot of high rises. And of course, although retired, with my pension from JKR, with my savings and EPF that I've accrued from my vocations and career, and also now with currently some stipends and fees as a director, I'm quite comfortable. And I'm also very fortunate to say that, through my confidence that I've developed over the years as a Buddhist, because, a lot of people say that business and the Dhamma cannot match each other, because you either be a very successful businessman and do all the nonsense, or you become a very good propagator or even a religious teacher or even a renunciate, and then get out of these business circles, which is actually very evil and very difficult to maintain. But I find that you can actually couple both of them. And through your practice of sila, through your practice of understanding, right thoughts, right speech, right action, right livelihood, very important. And at the same time, your effort, your mindfulness, where you are mindful in what you do, you are calm in facing all kinds of vicissitudes. And of course, good concentration power, where you can focus and develop a lot of what you call the good projects and good ideas. Then you become actually a very successful businessman. But you all know that in the pursuit of wealth, we must always have a limit. And that limit is that we must always know where to stop. So enough is enough. At the same time, if you are now free, then spend a lot of time to try and do some beneficial work. Like, for example, continue to do propagation, which I'm doing now. Every Sunday, I'm somewhere. And every, opportunity to give a talk to young Buddhists, especially now I'm also involved in the program called Dhamma Works, where we actually try to incorporate the principles of Buddhism into the working life, and how you apply all these principles of good friendship, of good relationship, of what we call successful motivations, and how you deal with your psychology. This Dhamma Works program is actually very important. It is actually conducted in Kinrara Metta. And at the moment now, because of COVID, we are actually conducting online. So far we have actually, the last two, Dhamma Works 6 and Dhamma Works 7 is actually conducted online. So if any one of you who are actually in the practice or in the working life where you would like to actually learn the art of applying the Buddha's teachings, come and join us in Dhamma Works, right? And the reason why I'm involved with all our young friends is to encourage them through mentorship. Because we, put it this way, we have lived a full life. I'm already 65. So basically what I've accumulated over the years may be useful to actually enliven, enrich, make it more fulfilling for you, and so that you can also be successful equally at the same time. Now, I've raised from an ordinary staff, an ordinary professional, and then I've gone all the way right up to become even the group CEO of a public listed company. So with this, I believe I should inspire you and say that you can do it, because at the same time when we have the right training and the right philosophy of life and the right understanding and the right frame of mind, and when we are what you call be able to take things as it go and be able to be simple in our needs, I think we can be successful in many aspects. So hopefully you all have gained some insight into my life. At the same time also, you have learned some new areas where you can improve yourself. One day you'll be like me, then sitting on our laurels thinking of the next holiday. I have done it and I've been successful and I'm still very happy, and I like to share my joy. When a person is happy, he cannot keep it to himself. He must share it with others. And this is one of the opportunities that I would like to share with you. So with that, I hope you all will have a very fruitful life. You will enjoy yourself and you will be successful once more. Thank you. Over to you, back to Linnet.
Teacher Linnet, you're muted.
Okay, thank you so much, Brother Charlie, for your. I think there were a few questions that were in there. One of them is from Elgin. She asked, you mentioned about upscaling, improving. Were you referring from the aspect of the Dharma or based on the conventional meaning of success in life, such as money, lucrative jobs, etc.?
Okay, I'm happy to say that, you know, life is such a lifelong learning. You continue to upskill, you continue to lifelong learn, and at the same time improve yourself, because at this moment of time also, I'm still learning quite a lot of things. So that's why I'm very much involved in a lot of research program. I'm also, at the moment now, the Secretary General of Real Estate and Housing Developers Association. And I'm involved with a lot of ministries in trying to come up with the right law and amendments to the law, so that the community will then have a good chance of developing. And at the same time, remember that I qualified as a lawyer, but when I was qualified, I didn't have a chance to practice. Because at that time when I qualified, I was 40 years old. And jobs were coming in and a lot of career development was coming in. Then I was thinking to myself, I'd rather be a developer than to be a lawyer. So when I retired at the age of 62, I decided then to go back, because after 20 over years of not practicing it, I think I should keep it. Your lawyer is not complete until he's called to the bar. So I was called to the bar at the age of 62. And the judge was very amused. The judge was saying that, look, you know, I'm retiring and you are coming in. So I was among one of the oldest to be called to the bar in the court, and I'm still taking up cases, but I take up cases with passion in the sense that when I see people being bullied, when I see people being downtrodden and being facing a lot of difficulties in their implementation as a result of questions of law, and that is when I now come back to read up cases and eventually the principles, and then advise or introduce to them. So it's still learning. Every day is still learning new cases. Every day is still learning new principles. And I believe, this kind of things keep you energetic, and you find that you are never tired of life. But life is so precious. I think we should make full use of it. Even until to our last day, we must be of use to the community and to the society. So I'm helping people in law. At one point of time, I was helping the AWAM. AWAM means, it stands for Abused Women Association of Malaysia. A lot of women were abused. And then we went in to advise them how they should redress it and how they should come out of it. And at the same time, of course, divorce your husband if the husband abused them. The proper way of doing it. So good to help the community, and good also to enrich our young people, that they are also having a long journey ahead, but there is always a good journey to start with at this point in time. So don't neglect the upskilling and don't neglect the learnings, because the Buddha in the Mangala Sutta says one of the greatest blessings is that we are able to develop handicraft and skill, and at the same time also develop vast learning and keep on learning in order to improve ourselves, and we will never be tired. Okay. So any other questions?
Thank you, Datuk Chia. Sorry, just to add on a few to what you have mentioned. There are certain questions I want to ask, like, because when throughout your career and your professional life, I hope I don't make this sound very wrong, but there might be times when sometimes we can get a bit over the head sometimes. Like, it's like we get to be slightly arrogant, or we get to be like, oh, I think I'm really in this good position.
Okay, basically,
I
I
lose
like
ourselves in this. Yeah.
I like to say that there are some occasions when you tend to be a little bit rough and rash. I remember conducting the meeting in my boardroom, and then a lot of my officers came and participated, but I was not happy with certain things that was being done. And of course, I reprimand them, I admonish them, I say, no, this is not the way you do it. And then I was angry. I did show my anger. And after that, two of them then talk to me and says, Datuk, I thought you are a Buddhist, and a Buddhist never get angry. So I said, why not? Why can't a Buddhist get angry? A Buddhist has every right to get angry, and a Buddhist can admonish, but a Buddhist never get angry for a long time. In other words, we admonished with the aim to correct, with the aim to put things right, and after that, the thing will just dissipate. So anger has to be managed, and anger have to dissipate, and we don't simpan dendam dalam hati. So after that, then I'll call everybody, okay, let's go for a drink. And then all is forgotten. But the lesson is then learned. So we have to learn some of these techniques of enforcing our views and trying to be showing your leadership in determining some actions to be done. But at the same time, if things don't go perfect and things don't get what you are expecting, be at ease with yourself, right? Because perfection, you are still not a perfect person. Only a person who is a Buddha is an enlightened being and a perfect one. We are still Putujanas, but maybe slightly better than Putujanas, or maybe slightly more controlled than the Putujanas, but at least you show that you are actually on a path. And we are all students, until the day we are enlightened, we are all students, learning the Dhamma and trying to practice the Dhamma and trying to perfect the Dhamma. So don't despair if you have done any of this ill will and greed and hatred, which you are still attached. You know, I always like to give this topic called rich Buddhist, poor Buddhist. And a lot of our people always ask this question: can a Buddhist be rich? Can the Buddhist pursue wealth? Can the Buddhist, what you call, do business and try to be wealthy? Well, the Buddha has actually given teachings to both the renunciate and the lay people. And he has many sutras to actually encourage you to do business, to invest, to actually become successful business people. But he always cautioned that you must not be attached, number one. Number two, you must also do it with a purpose. So when you have wealth, but with a purpose in life, that wealth then becomes meaningful. So there are a lot of parameters that we have to adopt, but as you learn along, you will then be able to, what you call, slowly evolve and transform yourself from a lesser human being to a much more higher human being. But it's a journey, and the journey has to start somewhere. Right? Maybe this is not life, this is not the life yet, but at least we start. Okay?
I see. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Datuk. But another thing is, sorry, just the last one. Just now we had a poll, and then there was like one of the factors, and it was quite staggering the amount of people who chose doubt. What would your words? What would you advise? You know, when we face this stuff, because you have been through a lot, and you've achieved a lot as well. But at the same time, maybe there might be a lot of setbacks you face.
Why do we have doubts?
Yeah,
it's because of ignorance, isn't it? And the only way to remove ignorance is knowledge. And once you have knowledge, then there will be no ignorance. If there is no ignorance, then there is no fear, no doubts. So the most important thing is we must learn the Dhamma, learn the philosophy as expounded by the Buddha in how we deal with circumstances and situations. And once we put it to a test, then it is no longer doubt. It becomes confidence. In other words, everything has to start with faith. You are doubtful, but let's have faith first. Put it to a try and see whether it works. And if the Buddha's teaching works for you, then it becomes confidence. And then you say, since there is confidence, I would like to get some more. And that's why you practice some more. So saddha is the key word. When you have saddha, then you are very confident in a lot of things and you do not have fear anymore. Fear, the darkness of fear, will be dispelled by the light of knowledge. So doubt is actually because you have no knowledge. You have not learned. You have not, what you call, have the methodology to resolve it. That's why you are doubtful. But the moment it happens, no more doubts. That's why the removal of doubts is actually the first key to become a sotapan, the first stage of sainthood. Rites and rituals, doubts, and what you call ill will. Okay?
Thank you, Datuk.
Any more questions?
I think Brother Charlie, your Dhamma works sounds very interesting because before this, I was just talking to Robin about having a webinar, a panel session where we invite successful people like you, maybe Dr. Victor, maybe even Datin Alice for that matter, to have some sharing for them. So, and when you talk about Dhamma works, it was very interesting. Could we expand a little bit on using that platform and to have webinars like this? And if so, maybe we can invite you, just a sneak preview for the rest of you. We can have a webinar sometime in July to do this. Will you be all right with that?
Yes. I'm actually ever ready.
Okay.
I only worry that I don't get a chance.
Okay, and also I'm very glad that you're working for Awam. If you would like, I'd like to volunteer my time. One of the topics that I love to talk about is how to prepare for a divorce, the proper way, what are things, and also financial planning. We do outreach talks as well. So, and I'm sure some of our team members here would like to get involved. Would you all like to get involved? If you want to, you just let us know so that Dhamma at work is not just about work, and it's also how we give back to society also. Okay, so if you like, maybe the buddy can do a little bit more. Have a branch of Dhamma works here, and then also how we can contribute to the society as well. Great. Everybody says yes. Wow, financial planning. Okay, I'll do one session on financial planning for you all next round.
Actually, one of the most important thing is to be able to transform our young Buddhists into successful people, and also success not only in career and wealth, but also career in handling their life's issues and difficulties. And Dhamma works also not only take care of the work, they also take care of relationship. And that's why there is a psychologist, Sister Lau Ming Yen, who actually conducts one of the sessions on psychology, and also the counseling. Very good.
So okay, very good. Let me plan out the one in July. You are listening to all the sneak preview. So Robin, you have less promotion to do later on. So we will do that, and then we will invite you again, Datuk, to come and share. Perhaps if you are in connection with Datuk Itawi, you may have a word with him, so that when I connect with him, he knows what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for the session. I think I need to hand the session back to Robin, because we already exceeded our time. But thank you so much for your sharing. It was very interesting. Robin, back to you.
Yeah, sorry, my lighting is not stable. Yes, thank you so much, Teacher Linnet and Datuk Charlie Chia, for coming today, joining us, and Teacher Linnet for giving a talk, and Datuk Charlie Chia for sharing with us your life experience. Really sadhu to you guys. And yes, thank you so much for joining. And thank you so much to those who came today to listen to the talk. And yes, let's give a big round of sadhu to both Teacher Linnet and Dr. Charlie Chia. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu. Thank you all. Stay safe and healthy, Follow SOP,
Yes. Okay, before everyone goes, we have a feedback form that we would like everyone to fill in. Hold on for a while. And in the meantime, there's an event coming up that I'll pass to Jiaying to promote.
Wait, before that, could we take a group photo?
Oh, yes. Okay, if everyone don't mind, let's take turn on your video and let us take a group photo together. Jiaying, are you going to take the photo?
Yeah, I can take it.
Yeah, okay,
but Teacher Linnet, could you stop sharing your screen so we can see everyone?
Elgin, brother Elgin, are you from Buddy? I haven't seen you before. Just curious. Brother Elgin, yeah. Okay, never mind. We'll talk later. Okay, yeah, we'll talk later.
We can recruiting his people again.
No. I want to know him more. Yeah. Okay.
Hello, everyone. If you can turn on your cam, that'd be great. Okay, I think I'll take the picture now. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So this is recorded and will be posted, right?
Yes, it will be posted. I think I could.
Okay. Where will you all be posting? Okay, share the link and I will post in my Facebook.
I will share to you. Yes. Yeah. Okay, I'll stop the recording now.